Frank, where are we at? Because as soon as we mention you're coming on and we're going to be talking about Fury Usyk, there is a rush of interest amongst the boxing listeners, and I wouldn't expect anything other than that. Can you tell us where you're at?
Well, we're very far down the road, but at the moment we're just trying to. A couple of things we've got to work on, which I don't really want to go into details at the moment because it's not fair. Because we're trying to conduct this stuff so we get to a stage where we can make the announcement fairly soon. So that's what we're working on. But I think this will well, we all do. We all think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Arum said you were expecting an offer from Saudi Arabia this week. Has that come through?
Well, we're expecting a couple of offers this week, but none of them have come through, and then we've got to make Tyson's got to make his decision.
Yeah, so it's a kind of waiting game at the moment. I mean, Frank, you've been over the course. You are so vastly experienced in the world of boxing promotion. Give us your gut feeling. When is it going to happen?
I hope it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, obviously, in March at the moment. But I hope the end of March, early April. That's where we're looking at the moment. So fingers crossed we get it over the line for that date. But it will definitely happen.
I mean, obviously, you'll forgive us if we're beginning to sound pessimistic because a degree of pessimism crops up, Frank, because of what happened some time ago with Tyson eventually never stepping into the ring with AJ. So we wonder, I mean, from Usyk's side, Igis Klimas, Frank, spoke to us in December. Have a listen. He suggested then that the fight was as good as done.
We've been in negotiations even before the fight. That's why we showed up to the fight. We were invited. We were treated very nice by the Queensborough. Amazing fans in the UK. We love UK fans. And I mean, we've been talking to Queensborough promotions about that fight before. I'm talking with the Top Rank. We are almost done, I wanted to say. It's not much to talk. Two heavyweights, best in the sports today, undisputed heavyweight, championship bout. That's what people need. That's what the fans need.
So where and when?
Most likely it's going to be no later than March 4th. And it most likely it will end up in the Middle East, I want to say. But during today's conversations, I heard that other options are coming, like maybe again, London Stadium, Qatar. Most likely we're aiming for Saudi because I know Saudi is very interested in that fight. Saudi loves Usyk. I mean, Usyk is a huge, big fan in the UK as well.
So, I mean, that was Klimas. 6 weeks on, it's one step forward, two back, Frank. I mean, we can forget about March the 4th.
It's nothing back at all. What he says stands. The only thing is it won't be March the 4th. That's for various reasons that I don't want to go into at the moment. But there's no step backs. It's been step forwards all the way. Everybody's been positive about it. And we will get it on.
Frank, can I just ask you, what would be the main difference in dealing with Usyk's people to Joshua's people? Is it a lot easier? Is it a lot smoother?
Yeah. Yeah, they have no ties. They have no promotional ties. They are free agents. They have no TV contracts. So that side of it is very, very simple.
Oh, that's good.
And so we've got I'm very, very confident this is going to happen. Tyson wants it. I think he put something out yesterday as well. But it will happen. And it's like I'm an Arsenal fan and we're flying at the moment, but we lost out on that player which we all thought we had. That's sport. And Chelsea went in and nicked him.
They've been very clear, haven't they, in Saudi, that they wanted undisputed. They wanted to be able to stage the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, which they've now got in their ideal utopian world. Because of previous relationships, Frank, they might have liked that to be an Anthony Joshua, but that ship has sailed. So what is taking the time without... I know you don't want to sort of veer into too much technicalities, but they've got what they want now, the ability. KSA, I suspect it is. I know the Qataris were in and around it, but they can't do that probably till the end of the year, so the timings won't work. So what is taking the time to move from a situation where two fighters are calling one another out, where one's calling them belly and the other one's calling them middleweight or whatever else the background noise is? Why are we taking so long to get to a point where a financial offer... Have you been offered money? Are you still horse trading about the money?
We're still horse trading.
So
the fight will happen. Let me tell you, whatever happens, the fight will happen. The fallback position
is Wembley.
Will be Wembley.
Now, can I ask you about that, Frank? Do you think that's helpful? Because I didn't think it was particularly helpful what Bob has said. Because if you've got,
I know, I don't, you know, listen, what's been said has been said, and you know, and I've in the past said things. That's why I don't want to say things today, because I want to get this fight done. I don't want to compromise.
Don't want to give anybody an excuse.
Yeah, and that's really it. And
but Frank, is Bob Adam right? If it ends up here in the UK, the purse split would change.
Well, we will see. You know, Tyson's the attraction. I mean, he's the guy we've seen in his last two fights. He's had 160,000 people watching.
But also, you know, the other side of that argument as well. You've got the other champion for an undisputed fight. To make it happen, Frank, you know you've got to be talking about something resembling 50-50, don't you?
Well, we are at the moment in discussion, so we will work it out because they're all sensible people and we're sensible.
But if you can't get a sensible offer out of the Saudis, which you know you probably can, it'll be about quantums from the Saudis. It might be 100 million, it might be 120, it might be 90, right? But if for some reason that falls out of bed, right, the scale of the fight economically drops, doesn't it? If you can't get a facility fee from the Saudis now. If the scale of the drop if the Saudi deal falls out of bed, and we hope it doesn't, not that I want it fought in the Middle East, but we understand that that's what makes this fight happen. Are you going to be able to make this fight when the fight becomes a 50 or 60 million pound fight because it's being fought at Wembley?
Yeah, I mean, they're either going to make the unification or not. They both want to do it, or what's the alternative? They got, you know.
Well, that's the question I'm asking you, because it's all about money in Saudi, isn't it? Come on.
As far as Usyk's concerned, he'll start having to make his mandatories. Or vacate, and that just killed a unification. So,
but if you can't get the big number, Frank, and I hope that you can, not because I want it in Saudi, but because I know that's the economic landscape that makes it work. Is the Fury camp and the Usyk camp prepared to accept a fight that drops in economic value because it can't be staged in the Middle East? Will that fight still be made if the landscape of not being able to put it in the Middle East is removed?
If we can't get what we're looking for. If we can't get it, then it'll go on, and the numbers are the numbers. Yeah. It's reality, and that's the end of it. I mean, you know, that's what will happen.
Well, it'll still be more than any other fight they can have, Frank, won't it? So it doesn't really matter.
Of course. I mean, I think it's all a no-brainer. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you know, if we're going to take it elsewhere, then there's a premium for that.
Tyson's not injured, is he?
It's no different than years ago that casinos in America would pay for the privilege to have it in their casino. Yeah. That's where we're at, and it's just time.
But that ship has sailed now. It's the Middle Eastern money that's driving it, and it's, in some ways, it's kind of corrupting it as well, because it's giving fighters an indication that there's much more money to be had elsewhere, and they want everyone to be compared to that standard. But you might say that was the same as Vegas years ago. Is Tyson fully fit, Frank?
Is Tyson fit? Yeah, he's training. I think.
No, I just heard something that there's a problem with his elbow.
No, he's had that for a while. And he's okay with that. He's not had any operations on his elbow or anything.
Frank, it's good having you on. Before we let you go, it's a big month of boxing, of course. Ends with your man Anthony Yarde facing the unified light heavyweight champion, this beast that goes by the name of Artur Beterbiev. That's at Wembley, January 29. My sister, January 28th. I beg your pardon. What are we talking about? Can Yarde take his title shot destiny?
I genuinely think he's got a great chance. You know, Berbatov, you say, he's a monster. He's 18 fights, world champion, 3 belts, 18 fights, 18 knockouts. He's a wrecking machine. But Anthony Yarde, he's had 23 fights and 2 losses. One was a world title challenge, which he nearly won that fight, and a loss on points. He has got the experience now. He's got the experience now, and I believe, and he's got the punch power, and he's very fit. And I genuinely believe if he catches this fella, I think he will knock him over.
That's why we paid all the money we paid
to get it over here.
This is a great fight, Frank. It's a fight I'm so excited about.
The show's a good show. I mean,
is it, Frankie boy? What we got on? What's on the undercard, mate?
We've got the WBA flyweight championship between Artem Dalakian, who's from Kiev, Ukraine, with Jimenez. He's managed by the same team that've got Usyk, so that's the relationship. Mm-hmm. Got our young lad Karol Atumia, who's fighting for a international light heavyweight title. Willie Hutchinson, Moses Atumia, who's making his debut. He's the young amateur heavyweight sensation. You're going to love, I promise you. He's something special. We've got a great card, really good card.
Excellent.
It's a great fight for him. Great fight. Looking forward to it, Frank.
Oh, it needs a time and a place for you. Fury, you're sitting there, we're all happy, Frank.
Sorry, say that again?
Oh, it needs a time and a place for the big one. Fury Usyk.
As soon as we've got it, Jim, I'll be on to you, mate.
We like you, Frank. It's 11:45.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.